Hi everybody, so this is a short, somewhat improvised video coming out of a question from one of my patrons, because he is often playing in situations that are not really jazz situations. So he's playing and performing with singer-songwriters, or at least with those type of progressions, and he was asking how to deal with it, and in fact how to improvise on this and not sound like B.B. King. If you can imagine that there's a world where you don't want to sound like B.B. King, because that's maybe a little difficult actually. But I guess I understand that in some situations you don't really want to have your blues licks all over the place on another type of progression. So how can you approach this? And I guess there are a few sort of different ways to do this. And probably the best way to just demonstrate this is just to take a simple progression where we're not using jazz chords and where we are not really using a jazz progression. So the one that I just quickly came up with was this one, so in G, so G to D, A minor, and then F, and then back to G. So we have 4 chords, all triads, all sort of campfire, open chords. I don't even play the third of the first chord. So really a different sound than what we normally do if we're playing Donna Lee or Stella by Starlight, obviously. But at the same time, how can you work with this? Because actually you can play this and still kind of follow the harmony. And I think also somewhat depending a little bit upon who you're trying to emulate, but also staying kind of in style. And you're also just free to just be a little bit less in the harmony, because that's not necessarily needed. You're allowed to just sort of rely on the one playing the main chords, that there's like a rhythm guitar player or a piano player covering the changes, and then you don't really have to go into them. So the options that you have will be something like starting just with using maybe so in this case it's in G major. I think it's kind of clear, even though the F is sort of borrowed from somewhere else, it's still, this is all G major. So we can use a G major pentatonic scale. And if I play, let's see, I have a recording of the chords here, so that sounds like this. It kind of sounds okay, give or take my somewhat questionable phrasing within the style. So that's still an option, just to try how does it sound when I do this. I think I'm still kind of hearing the chords, and I'm also somewhat phrasing within the chords, and of course that will work as well to still do that, because there are going to be certain notes within the scale, even if it's just a pentatonic scale, that are going to work better with the chords than other ones. But in general, you can also just go by ear. I think that's also a lot of what I'm doing here. The next thing to do would just to expand this a little bit and then try and see if I can use the major scale. So in the progression that I have here, there's one place where you have to be a little bit careful, because on the last chord of the progression, so the F chord, I can't really use the F sharp. That's going to sound a little bit funny if I do that. So I do have to be a little bit aware of what is going on, but I'm still just playing the major scale and then trying to make some melodies with that. I think the main thing with this is really that you're thinking much more in melodies and in connecting what you're playing, so that you're maybe not so much aware of the harmony, but you're really trying to make a melody that makes sense, which in a way is a good exercise for your jazz playing as well, because we get kind of lost in the fact that we can just get away with just playing the changes and then everything's okay. And the really good jazz solos are the ones that have really strong melodies. So that's always something to be aware of as well. So let's see, if I just use the major scale, then that will sound like this. So that's not that difficult to mess around with. Of course, as with any jazz tune, it helps if you kind of know the progression already. By now, I've heard it so many times that I'm beginning to be able to make something, to play something that makes a little bit of sense, and that's important as well. So don't underestimate progressions like this, even though they're only triads or that the chords are simpler, because you still need to know what's going on. If you do want to use the harmony, then as you already suggest in your question, actually, is that you would want to use the harmony that's there. So you don't want to use too many extensions, and actually you don't want to play sevens on it most of the time. So if we try and follow the harmony and then work more with just playing the basic triad arpeggios. So I'm just seeing them, and this is about having the triads and playing the arpeggios, but not only the arpeggios. So you still need to be... You still kind of have to hear how the arpeggio is sitting in a scale. And in this case now, I'm sort of changing the scale to have the F in there, because now I want to play that arpeggio. So if I'm in this position, then that's just going to be like... and then the A minor. Oops. Well, actually, so here I'm by accident playing an A minor 7. This is actually a place where you can play the 7 and it doesn't matter. But the triad would be this. And then, of course, the A minor 7 works like this. I guess the F will be this one. And then a solo using that material will kind of sound like this. So one thing that's kind of interesting about this is also that normally when you're playing jazz, then the things kind of tend to collapse a bit if you start playing the root, and that's a lot less the case when you're playing on chords like this. So in some places, it's fine to just really emphasize the root of the chord for longer periods of time, and I think you will also hear that back if you listen to pop music, that you'll hear them sing the root while of the chord in the melody very often, and that's just a much more common thing to have, and that's just in style really okay. And I think if you compare it to a jazz standard, where that's almost never the case, or at least it's much more rare than what it is here. So yeah, so you can start working just with the triads and then just quickly find the triads. The thing you need to do with a progression like this, I think, is really decide what key it's in. It's a singer-songwriter tune, so it's in a key, and what scales you need to be aware of this, of course, but probably you only need about one scale. It is useful to reduce it also to a pentatonic scale, simply just because phrasing-wise, that's going to give you some ideas, and major pentatonic, so you need to be aware if it's major or minor for the pentatonics, and then use the major scale, and then you can also just quickly see what you can do with the triads. Or with the arpeggios, and sometimes you can use the extensions, and sometimes you cannot. I mean, and of course, this is also going to be a question of taste. So in this, I'm keeping it more sort of ballad-like, and I'm also keeping the solos kind of calm. And probably, if I wanted to play more notes, I could get away with more things. Also, that's also a difference. You could tell, like in the last solo I played, I was using the 7th on the D a few times, which I don't know. It's possible, but it was not like if it was a take. If it was supposed to be a recording, I would have done another take. But just for this quick video, then I think it's okay like this. So I hope that you can use this for something. It's a completely different thing. It's not the thing I normally do, of course. But it's also just fun to answer a question like this because, of course, I do other gigs besides just jazz gigs. And I think that's also the kind of stuff that I run into, of course. So if this is the first time you see one of my videos and you want to check out some more stuff on jazz guitar, then subscribe to my channel. I publish a new video every Monday and every Thursday, and I've been doing this for quite some time. So there's a lot of stuff already happening. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. I'm very grateful for the support that I'm getting from my Patreon community. And if you join us over on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for your support. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time.